Hello, my name is Clay Reese. I'm the Director of Operations at BoviSync, and I am introducing Nick Jenkins. Nick is our Professional Services Director, and he's put together a slide presentation on calf health reports using some of our newest reporting tools. We're referring to our new reporting tools as Bovi-Insights. And as I said earlier, some of the videos might not stream so well, particularly the app demo, because it's formatted for a larger screen. But we will be sharing a link to that video with everyone who signed up. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask through the chat, and we'll do our best to answer. After we get through the app demo, we will be available for some question and answers. Can everybody see the calf health webinar panel? Excellent.
Myself and everyone at BoviSync thanks you for taking the time to listen to this webinar and learn about the exciting things we're releasing. My name is Nick Jenkins, and I'm the Director of Professional Services at BoviSync, which means that I'm here to work with folks in allied industry like veterinarians, nutritionists, genetic companies, etc., as well as producers, to help train and develop the reporting tools necessary to make the best decisions possible. I also happen to be a veterinarian, and I worked as a nutritionist prior to joining the team at BoviSync. My goal for today's webinar is to show our new Bovi-Insights reporting system and to give you a sense of what is possible with it. I won't be focusing on specific reports or KPIs, but rather how to create the reports that work best for you. We have reports that can be used as starting points, as well as additional support that will be available to help you achieve the specific reports that you need. First, let's start at the main BoviSync screen. When the reports are activated, it'll be listed on the Reports tab under New List Report. There will be Animal, Event, and Chore reports. In this example, I'm going to go to our search menu and type in the start of what I'm looking for, which is our simple inventory demo. So here we are. We have our report that is up. We have a total line here. So total is just a column that we can add that allows us to aggregate the entirety of the data set into one group, so we can see overall averages or whatever it is that we're looking for. In this example, we'll open it up and see that there are 3 owners that have animals on these farms. I'm logged into multiple farms right now, so you can see all the owners that are for each of the animals that are present. Now within each of these categories, you'll see several different locations that they're also at. So we have calf ranches there under each farm. This is an animal report, so the base measure is an animal unit, and as we go deeper and deeper into the report, you end up at the individual animal record, which you can multi-select and open up those animal pages in separate tabs. You can also enter events for just those specific animals that you're interested in. Grouping can be changed simply by changing the order in which you group things. So right now, as I showed before, it's showing the owner and then the location by owner. If we wanted to look at it the other way around, all we would need to do is ungroup owner, and now we're looking at everything by location, and then we can regroup owner, and now we can see the number of animals by location that are owned by each owner. We can go deeper yet if we wanted to see the pens that each of these animals are in. Additionally, we can sort by basically anything that's here. So if we wanted to look at just the grouping by months, so then the number of animals by their age in months, we can simply group by age in months and see what those are. On the left-hand side of the screen is our main filter area, where we can enter the report dates, the start date and end date of the report, as well as any additional filters. For instance, if you wanted to see all the animals in the last 30 days, you would change the start date to 30 days ago. We also have the ability to enter filters, which can correspond to any of the items that relate to that animal. So for instance, if we just wanted to see animals that were less than or equal to 14 days of age, we could add a filter like that, and now our report will only show the animals that meet that criteria. We can also move columns around the screen so that you're able to get the formatting and organization that you want. Now I'll ungroup these to get to the base values, and we can add in some information. If you know what you want to put in, you can start typing in the search bar. So for birth date, for instance, you can push the plus button and enter the report item search field. And if I want to find sire breed, I can type in sire breed and see all the items that fit that criteria and add the one that I want.
I'm going to work on the screen here as I pause Nick here for a second. Just bear with me. I'm going to try to zoom in so the quality is a little better. And again, we'll kind of bring those back together. I think this will help a little bit.
I can then group and do other reporting on those new columns that I have entered.
Okay, excellent. So
I put together a more interesting report that we can dig into to see the full extent of what Bovi-Insights is capable of. So we all know that early calf care, and particularly getting enough quality colostrum into calves, is important to their long-term health and success, right? So my thinking was, let's do a report where we can look at some of the metrics that we're interested in and relate that back to serum total protein of the calves that is measured within the first 2 weeks of age. So this is what we did here. We'll start off at the top level and then show how we can break down the data in a variety of ways to really get at some interesting information. So here's the report. Some basic information before we start. This is looking at animals in the last 3 years. So they're including dead and sold animals. Birth date is 3 years ago up until now. These are females only, so just heifers to keep it simple. And then this is a formula, so you can do formulas as filters as well. Just basically saying, I only want to look at the animals that have serum total protein values. So on this top level way of looking at it, I can see I've made several columns that look at the percent of animals culled less than 60 days old, percent culled that are less than 150 days old, 1 year, and 2 years. I also created these measures, which are the percent of animals that have at least one medical event at 7 days of age, 14, 30, or 60 days. And then I have the overall percentage that were sold or died. This is the average serum total protein value, and this is the percent of animals higher than 5.5. So that's kind of interesting, but let's look at it a little bit deeper. We'll get rid of this total column, and now I will sort by birth date. We have the ability to choose a variety of different date formats. In this circumstance, I'm going to do it by year, then group it. So now we can see the percentages of each of these measures by the year of birth date. We can add multiple columns of the same type, which is useful for dates especially, as we can now choose date and month. And so now we can look at month within year. So we can see how some of these changed over time. You can also get rid of the year sorting and look at it strictly by month if we want to. So looking at the data in this way is useful from the perspective of understanding what trends are occurring and making sure that any management issues are addressed as soon as possible to prevent slippage of protocols. So for instance, you see as time goes on, the percentage that are higher than 5.5 dips a little bit here for a couple of months before it's addressed and goes up a little higher. Now if we wanted to look at the question of how are different categories of serum total protein related to their likelihood of getting culled or having medical events, we can just simply group by the category that we want. So I made a formula. It's a little bit over the top, but nothing that we can't help walk you through. But basically it's saying if the serum total protein value is within these categories, so less than 5.2, greater than 5.2, greater than 5.5, greater than 6, or greater than 7, put them in that bucket. So this would be greater than 7, this would be 6 to 7, 5.5 to 6, 5.2 to 5.5, and under 5.2. Interestingly, when we break it down in this way, we can see that as the serum total protein value increases up until this latest value, which would be over 7, the percentage of animals culled goes down. And this holds true in almost all of the categories that we have there. There's a couple instances where the higher values, so greater than 7, result in slightly higher values culled or having medical events, which, if we think about why or what we're measuring, which is total protein, it kind of makes sense. If an animal is getting serum total protein measured when they are sick or dehydrated, their values will be falsely elevated regardless of what their IgG values are. So we can see here the difference in the less than 5.2 and the highest values is nearly 10% higher that were sold or died as of today compared to the highest value of total protein. They also had a significantly lower number of animals that had medical events in the first 2 months of life. What I'm going to do now is use these measures that are already present to look at how getting a medical event early in the life of the animal affects them long term. So for that, I'm going to group this category that I have here. Now I'm just going to rearrange a few columns to make things easier to see. Okay, now that we can see this a little bit better, what we're looking at here, this 0 and 1, it's based on this formula that's just saying, did this animal have a medical diagnosis in the first 7 days of life? Yes is a 1, no is a 0. And I think this is really interesting because if you look, if an animal has a medical event, they are significantly more likely to be culled within 60 days, nearly double at 150, and that continues at 1 year and 2 year. We can go another level deep in this and look at so if an animal had a medical event at 7 days, then it definitely had one by 14. But what I was interested in looking at is saying, of the animals that did not have an event in the first 7 days, how many then had it in the first 14, and how does that relate to culling? And you can see there that animals that maintained being healthy, so no medical events through the first 2 weeks of life, have significantly lower cull rates than the cohorts of animals that had a medical event, which makes sense. It's good to prioritize the things that lead to these outcomes and understand that those early days of life play a big role in whether or not that animal makes it into the lactating herd. So we can continue to go deeper. And so now we're looking at animals that have not had any medical diagnosis through the first 30 days of life. And you can see the difference in culling is nearly double. So this is an example of how we can go multiple layers deep, looking at these cohorts and trying to get a better understanding of the things that are affecting outcomes on the dairy. So in this example, these 3,600 that had no medical diagnosis in the first 2 months of life were half as likely to be culled by 2 years of age as those that had a medical event in the first 7 days. They're also far less likely to be currently sold or died in the herd. From this same base report, we can also look at the breakdown of culling reasons. So here we can look at the reasons for animals being culled. So you have died, euthanized, involuntary, selective, and then within each of those, we have our standardized reasons that can be entered. So you can look at the percent of animals that are in each of these categories to get a better idea of what are the things that are affecting the dairy, affecting the calf ranch, and what should I be focusing my attention on. Outside of making customized reports to answer the questions that you have on a particular dairy, we can make very simple event reports in this example where you have each of the specific event types for animals that were diagnosed between 0 and 180 days of age in the last 13 months. And you can see the counts, the percent of a total. Very simple. When you expand this, you're able to get to that animal's information, pull it up, and look at it in detail. Very simple. One thing that I really like about this is that you're able to jump to the animal pages without having to refresh the report, which is helpful when you're looking to get to the bottom of things that are going on in an operation. Next, we can do some things related to events like the relation of health events and when they occurred. So this report is just looking at monthly counts of medical and cull diagnosis or events. As we enter each month, you can see the count for the medical events as well as died and sold. And each of these columns, we can then know what percent of these events are occurring within the time frames that are stated: 1 to 70 days, 71 to 120, 120 plus, and whether or not each of these diagnoses that occurred in this month was the first diagnosis for an animal or was a repeat diagnosis. So you can get an idea of whether or not events are getting recorded multiple times and there's an issue with chronic cases, or if it's a issue with new cases. Related to that would be something along this lines, where you are able to look at specific diagnoses that occur and then have a representation of what percent of these animals survived for 30 days and how many were culled. And that's something that you can set the parameter. Whatever is interesting to you, you're able to make that report and give that information to the people that are able to make that make the decisions that will help the situation go forward. Here's another report where we can pull in some of the lesser used items that we have available, but in certain circumstances becomes very useful. So here we're looking at by month for all the animals that are less than 450 days old, and looking at their birth weight, their weaning weight, and then their average daily gain. We have items for other weight time points, but this is just a simple explanation of how something like this can be put together. So you can look at how average daily gains change throughout time, not just in a total sense, but being able to look at it from a breed perspective, or from a sire perspective, or from a location. All of those things are possible and are something that is not easily done with other programs. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this webinar. Hopefully this has given you a sense of how big of a positive change the new report system is, and the wide breadth of reporting and data that you're able to pull from it. The ability to answer questions and get to the bottom of things, I believe, is unrivaled. And it is important to recognize that not only is it good to just make these reports, but being able to save them and automatically pull them up without having to remember any sort of complicated commands is certainly a benefit. We can also set up automated downloads and a variety of other tools to make sure that you're getting the information when you need it, and you're not letting the program stand in the way of you utilizing the information to make better decisions every day.
That concludes the demo portion of the webinar. Does anyone have any questions about CAF reporting in BoviSync or the Bovi-Insights reporting suite? Nick, is there anything that you kind of thought of as you were going through the demo today?
I was just thinking about how I was not happy hearing my own voice, but that's just me. I'm pretty bullish on what we have developed here. I think we're able to really get to answering the questions that we have and creating really interesting reports that help you make decisions. It's just a matter of showing what's capable, so that you all out there dealing with clients and your farms are able to know what questions to ask and know what's possible out there. My viewpoint has always been that a lot of people have gotten used to what's been out there, both from us and from other people, and now we have this system where I think we're able to get so much more information than we used to, and it's just a matter of expanding what we're looking for.
So there was a question about graphing. Graphing is something that is available in a very limited fashion at this point with Bovi-Insights. We can add graphs on our end to the pre-built reports, and it's something that we'll be investing more time in over the next few months. One of the things, as far as I wanted to announce, is I think in the coming week or two, we will be releasing the tools to really save and create and manage the reports for our current user base. That'll be in an email to our current users, and certainly to the people that signed up for the webinar today. Today, if you don't have access to the beta reports release, you can load any report links that you do have.
And the other thing to note with this is any reports that you make, you can utilize on any other farm in BoviSync because the records are standardized. It doesn't matter if you're in California or Croatia. If you go to that report link for that farm, it'll work. There's not going to be issues with items being named different things because it's a different farm. So I think that is a really helpful thing, especially on the consulting front and people that are working with a variety of dairies, to be able to use the same reports and know that you're looking at the same information, same way of looking at the information, I should say.
If you guys have any recommendations about how we can better communicate with you with new developments and tools, educational information, reports, let us know. Nick and I are available generally by email or phone number, but essentially we'll have our contact information and a mailer back out to you all. Thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And this is obviously something that we're very proud of and we've spent a lot of time working on, but we also want to understand how others are using it and how we can continue to make things better and make the program more effective and make our training and the information that we're putting out there better for people to learn how to use it and get the most out of all the information that's there. So any thoughts, comments, happy to discuss and get you what you need.
Thank you.